Hi guys, it's Angela. Welcome back to my channel. I just realized the last video I did, I didn't say like if you like, or subscribe if you'd like to see more videos. Please do so. I would really appreciate it. This is my sixth video. It's been on my mind to do this video for a couple weeks now. And something happened last week that made me say, okay, you have to sit down and do this video. So what I want to talk about today is not about tarot, as you can probably imagine or see from the previous videos. My channel is not just about tarot. It's about all things spiritual, things that have happened, everything pretty much. It's what I feel called to put on here. It's not just tarot. It's not just pendulums. It's which I will get into that eventually. But it's been on my mind to do a video about dreams. Now, I can tell you that ever since I was a kid, I have understood my dreams. Like, the dreams I've dreamed. It's weird to explain because um, I've never been able to sleep well at night, and uh, basically from the time I was 12 on, I remember my dreams. I would have uh, it was my constant. Like, I would know that when I went to sleep at night, I would dream, and that for the longest, I thought maybe that's why I developed pretty much insomnia from that point on. I don't have a lot of memories from beyond that. When I was younger than that, I was grew up in an abusive home, um, and 12 and 13 were like the predominant years of um, just horror for me. It was probably the worst 2 years of my life. And abuse wise, because it was verbal abuse, it was emotional abuse, it was every abuse you can possibly think of. And I don't have a lot of memories prior to 12. Like, I've got maybe 5 or 6 that I can remember prior to 12. But 12 is when I really started realizing some of the dreams I was having were not just something I ate, or that I was up too late or something like that. It was the first time I really noticed dreams can mean things, whether it be a sign of things to come, or um, a sign of something, or some kind of symbol that represents your life at that moment. It was really at that age where I knew something was going on beyond just regular dreaming. And I don't keep a journal. I'm an aspiring writer. And it's weird because I find journaling tedious. I don't know why. I sit down and do a journal. I've tried many times over many years, and it just never sticks. Maybe I'm just lazy. That could be, I don't know. It could also be that I just didn't want to write about things that have happened that I've tried so hard to forget. Uh, but um, 12 was around the time that something shifted for me. And I had had a dream that someone in my family or someone close to me was going to pass. And I didn't understand the dream. I couldn't even tell you to this day because it was so many years ago. It was like over 35 years ago. Couldn't tell you if it was male or female. None of that. All I know is the part that resonated with me and stayed with me all these years was that I had a dream that someone was going to die, and then someone did die a week later. So I was turning 13. It was a big deal for a girl, I guess. um, Everybody in the family was at my house. My stepfather's uncle, who raised him like a son, like his son, lived literally two houses down. We lived in a duplex, and there was our duplex, and then another duplex, and then his duplex. So he was literally like maybe 200 feet from us. His sister, which was my step grandmother, all of my step cousins, everybody was there for my party. There was food, there was all this stuff, and I was like, this is amazing, because this was the first birthday I remember actually having a birthday. And I remember my stepfather going, "Oh, Uncle Larry's not here, so I'm going to go get him." And he goes down to get him, and he had died in his chair. So what was going to be my 13th birthday turned out to be a morning gathering with food. And that was very traumatizing for a 13-year-old. I was just like, I associated my birthday for many, many years after that with death. And I even thought for many years, which it didn't help, that things did happen on or around my birthday every year from that point on for the next 20 years to someone I loved. And it was just, I had associated my birthday with death and someone getting hurt or someone being physically ill, something. And it didn't even register in my mind that, for one, the dream was traumatizing enough because I dreamed someone died. And then for a week later, for it to actually happen was just a whole other, like, thing. And I kind of blocked it out. Like, I associated for many years, many years, my birthday with horribleness and death. And I got to the point every year where I would call, like, even once I got married, I would call my mother-in-law and be like, "Are you okay? Are you going anywhere today? Don't go anywhere." Or, I would be panic stricken for like the week of my birthday, because every year from that year on, someone I cared about would be hurt in a car wreck. My mother-in-law actually almost died. She went in for a routine biopsy, liver biopsy. They punctured her liver, almost killed her on my birthday. So for many years, I associated my birthday with this dark thing. At that point, I didn't even register that there had been a dream involved. Like, that was way beyond my scope of thinking. I had a lot going on at 12 and 13. I was being abused on a regular basis. I was not doing great in school. I developed a seizure disorder because of the abuse. I had to take medication, which they over-medicated me on. I was having migraines all the time. It was literally the worst 2 years of my life. So for dreams to come into play, it was small potatoes compared to the adult things my 12 and 13-year-old mind was going through. And so I never really thought about it until I was probably in my mid-20s. Never associated the two. And there was a point there in my mid-20s where I was so far removed from God and religion and spirituality or anything. And it's funny because I was raised Pentecostal. I was raised listening to the Bible every day by my mother. I was raised, these things are bad. On top of everything else I had gone through, I knew at 12 and 13 if I told someone about these dreams, they would look at me like I was a witch or I was evil or I was possessed by something. So I kept it to myself for years. Uh, then there was my mid 20s. I was so far removed from, I didn't want anything to do with church, religion, spirituality, nothing. And, but it was around that time, ironically, that I realized these dreams I have mean something. Like, I would have a dream about something going to happen, or I would see a symbol in a dream, and uh, it would be, I would know what it meant. Uh, it was by the time I was 19, 20, 21, around there, I was very well versed in my dreams, and I knew the interpretations. I knew the differences in just a dream in, as in something I ate, or a dream because I was overtired, than a dream that actually meant something. They have a different feel when you're in the dream. Like, you feel like you're in a movie and you're the star of the movie. And whereas a dream where it's just like, this, I watched this movie and this made its way into my dream, it feels different while you're in the dream. Now, I don't know all the lingo of different dreams. I've just learned a couple of years ago the term lucid dreaming, which I have more of those than most. um, and it's just like my early 20s, I really dove deep into learning what my dreams meant. I became obsessed with, because this was at that point, it was part of my life. It was part of who I was. I knew, guarantee, I would go to sleep and I would dream about something. Now, whether it meant something or not, that's where the studying and the research came in. And uh, it was just like, I was far removed from God, but He was there with me too. It was like the universe, God, spirit, angels, whatever. We're like, well, this is the only time we can reach you. So, of course, you're going to dream every night because you're not listening to us any other time. And I feel that now more than ever, because since I started my spiritual journey last June, I rarely dream anymore. I still don't sleep, but I rarely dream. Um, and I find that fascinating because I started regularly meditating, and about 3 weeks into meditating every single day, I realized the dreams stopped. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, I missed the dreams because it had been a part of my life for the whole of my life. And um, I had something happen last year where I was just like, I'm done with it. I didn't want to read tarot, or I hadn't even started tarot yet. Um, I didn't want to meditate. I didn't want anything to do with it for probably about 3 months. But what I find fascinating about that is the second I stopped meditating, I started dreaming again. So it was like, you can have one or the other, but you can't have both. You can be awake in your waking hours and be aware that we're sending you messages, or you can not get any sleep at night because we're sending you all kinds of stuff in your dreams. And I just found that really interesting. um, so I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. It's like 1 a.m. now. Um, uh, so about 4 months ago, I decided, because I started kind of journaling my dreams. I have a few on my blog that I do. Um, it's actually on a secondary page on Facebook. It's called Sacrificial Chain Breaker, if you want to check it out. But I have quite a few dreams on there that I started blogging when I decided I wanted to be a writer. 5 years ago. And my daughter and I got to talking. I gave her up for adoption when I was 19. We reconnected when she was 18. She's almost 24 now. Um, but I'm always kind of leery of religion talk or spiritual talk because I don't know where she stands. I know she grew up Catholic, but I didn't know where she stood. And my daughter is very scientific with things. She's very, if I can't see it, if I can't touch it, it's not real. However, my daughter and my two sons both dream constantly. They dream of all kinds of things. And I actually gave both of my sons a journal to start trying to journal them because they would come to me. They started coming to me when they realized mommy wants to know about these things. And they're 13 and 20, but still. They have yet to do the journal because, like me, they're like, this is tedious work. We don't want to write our dreams down. I think mine are for different reasons, though. But they have come to me a few times with their different dreams, and my daughter has come to me a few times with her different dreams, and they're very fascinating, very interesting, very spiritual dreams. And I got to talking about dreams one day with my daughter, and she's like, I dream of ravens quite a bit. They don't leave me alone. Like, I can be dreaming of a raven following me through the streets, or a raven following me to work, or she said there was one time I dreamed and I would wake up from the dream and go right back to the dream when I fell back asleep, that there was like several ravens hovering over me in the sky, and they would just follow me around. And so I kind of searched ravens because to me they were always a dark thing. They're not. And I sent her the link of what it meant, and she was like, oh, that's interesting. So we kind of talked about dreams, but she said one day, because I'm like, uh, I asked her if she ever had a dream that came true. And she said she thought that those kinds of dreams that are something that you saw in your waking hours um, were somehow projected in your sleep. And then when you wake up and see that thing again, you're like, oh my gosh, this is like a futuristic warning dream or whatever. She's like, it's all about what you retain during the day. And I'm like, okay, I kind of left it at that. I don't believe that because I've had dreams that prove otherwise. And like I said, there's all kinds of different kinds of dreams. The three types of dreams I have are the dreams that, the one is the dream that means nothing, the dream that I subconsciously saw something in a movie, or it was something I ate. Just, I know it's just space in my dream taking up, it's just me taking up space in my sleep. Then there's the dream where there's a sign or a symbol, there's some kind of symbology to it, that I know I'm supposed to take something from it, decipher it, learn it. And then there's the dreams that I've had. I haven't had a lot, but I've had enough to know that it's some kind of warning, or it's something that's going to happen in the future. And that's the dreams I want to talk about. And I was I may do a few videos on this for each dream, but I find it fascinating that you can have a dream about something, and then all of a sudden something is like completely out of the blue. That and it happens. And yes, I could see my daughter's side of things, but the type of dreams I've had where the things have come true make that a false statement, because these dreams they have nothing to do with what I'm doing in my life right now. They have nothing to do with my job. They have nothing to do with me. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing something that I couldn't possibly be seeing. So, the first dream I wanted to tell you about was that's what prompted me to do the video, was her saying that. Now, last week, I've been wanting to do the video for a while. I need to take a drink. Sorry, I got really thirsty all of a sudden. But I've been wanting to do the video for a while since her and I talked. And then last week, sorry, my lips are chapped too. It's cold here. Last week, my aunt posted a video, or not a video, a post on Facebook about having a replica of a Stradivarius violin from a distant relative from like 1717. I'm like, that's really cool. And the problem is, my uncle, her husband, had made a shadow box for it. It was hanging on the wall. The problem is, when I saw it, I thought of my great grandmother. She passed away when I was 12, at the age of 98. It actually happened before the dream, because my birthday is September 2nd. So, the dream I'd had about the uncle, I'm assuming it was the uncle because he died a week later, was a week before that. My great grandmother, I know two things about her. She was really tall. Well, three things. She was really tall. She was really old when she passed. And she could play the fiddle like nobody's business. I mean, every time you come over to her house, she actually lived with my grandmother. She would pull that thing out of the case and just go to town. It was like, this is amazing. This is an amazing woman. She's in her 90s and she's playing the fiddle like a pro. And I find it fascinating that apparently the replica of the Stradivarius my aunt has now, the Stradivarius that was made in 1717 was for her great-great-grandfather, which we know nothing about yet. She will probably dig up the information we need to know on him, because she's the family find ancestor person. Everybody has one of those in their family. Trust me. But I find it fascinating because I immediately thought of my great grandmother when I saw that. And if he is the great great grandfather of my aunt, that would make him my great great grandmother's grandfather, like first grandfather. So I could totally picture him teaching her how to play the violin. And I looked it up because I honestly thought the fiddle and the violin were two different things. They're not. The fiddle is just like a southern version, a southern name or a slang term for violin. And I'm like, I got chills because I'm like, oh my gosh, like this he would be my great 3-time great grandfather, owned a Stradivarius, and they go for millions of dollars. And my grandmother is just a nice thought that because my great grandma played so well that she learned from a professional. Like, if he owned a Stradivarius, he had to be a pro. That's all there is to it. So I just find that very fascinating. But all these memories, like, I had not thought of her in years. She died when I was 12. That was 30 plus years ago. She was 98 at the time. Perfect health. She wound up dying in her sleep. But the weird part about this, I did not actually think about this until last week, and that all these memories came flooding back of her. Last week, when I saw the replica on Facebook, I thought of my grandmother, my great grandmother, and I thought of her And a memory came up of her that kind of shook me a little bit. It kind of made me a little freaked out because her birthday was in February. Um, and she actually called me the beginning of January that year and called to talk to me. And I'm like, I'm 12 years old, whatever. And she called to tell me that she's like, I want you to know that I love you. And I remember the conversation. I hadn't thought of her in years, hadn't remembered that in years. And all of a sudden, it was like the conversation took place yesterday. And she told me, I love you. And I want you to know, don't be freaked out, but I'm going to die before my next birthday. And I was like, Grandma, what? Like, at 12 years old, I thought this woman is just batty. She's gone off her rocker finally. It's bound to happen at 98. um, she's like, no, no, I'm going to die before my next birthday. I just don't want you to be freaked out. You're my favorite great granddaughter, and I love you, and I just don't want you to be freaked out. Um, so literally 14 days, 2 weeks before her 99th birthday, she passed. And I was just like, what is happening? Like, how did she know? And I kind of heard through the family, because my grandmother called and said, "Hey, great grandma passed," and she talked to my mom for a while, which is my dad's mom, but she wound up talking to my mom for a while. They used to be buddies at one point. Um, but well, my parents got divorced when I was 4. That's why I say it was kind of weird because, you know, the ex mother-in-law talking to my mom was kind of weird. um, but I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. It's late. Um, Basically through their conversation, I figured out that my great grandmother had a dream that she was going to die. And then she did 2 weeks before her birthday. So she knew she was going to pass because of a dream. And I kind of feel like kind of hashing that last week, that memory flooding back to me. It was almost like she passed the torch on because that's the year I really remember starting having these dreams. And it was several months later when I had my first dream of someone dying and then someone dead. And it just almost like she had this ability, this gift to interpret dreams and to have like future fortune telling dreams. And she kind of passed it on when she passed. And I find it odd that she called me specifically. She didn't call anybody else. She just called me. And I'm like, why just me? And it makes me sad now because I wish I had gotten to spend a lot more time with her and gotten to know the person she was. Because literally all I know is that she's tall, she was old, and she played the fiddle or violin. And she played like the devil. I mean, she was great at it. But that's literally all I know about her. I don't know where she was born. I don't know where she came from. Like, nothing. And it's kind of sad now because I'm on this spiritual path and that memory just happened to be the one to pop up when I've been wanting to do a dreams post. It's just a little too synchronicity for me to not believe that there could have been more conversations had there. So I wanted to share that with you guys about my great grandmother because that was just that was nuts. And ever since last week, I'm like, I have to do this video now. I have to do it. So here we are. So I have several dreams that I want to tell you guys about, but I've already been rambling on for a long time. So I'm just going to tell you the first one real quick. I was 22 and I was engaged to my husband. Now, I must tell you, between my parents, I've had 7 step parents. So instead of going that way of, oh, marriage is just, you can always get divorced, it's not a problem, I went the other way. And I'm very one and done. I'm very, the vows are sacred. I was so out of sorts, and I want to say traumatized by the multiple marriages between my parents. And so I was very confused. I loved my husband, but I needed a sign. And this was like my first time that I was really trying to reconnect with God, or universe, or spirit, or someone to give me an answer. Is he the one? And we're always looking for that one. And I grew up on romance novels, stealing my mom's romance novels. I had a very skewed, for a long time, very skewed view of romance. But I knew there was that one person out there that would fit me perfectly. I felt it in my heart of hearts. I felt it. And uh, I was very emotionalist. I, like I said, growing up in an abusive household, I learned very early on how to shut my feelings down. Feelings were like chum in the water for sharks for my mom. Like, you do not show emotion. So I lost the ability for a long time, and I'm just now feel like I'm starting to relearn how to feel things. Like when people pass that's a relative that I know I should be sad for, I'm not really like, it doesn't connect. And so um at this time, it was like a crucial time for me. I almost got to the point where I called off the wedding just because I wasn't getting a sign from the universe saying, this is it. This is the one we sent you. And I'd had a horrible relationship previous to that. I mean, it was bad. And I didn't want to make the same mistake. And I knew he loved me. I loved him. We already had a son together. um, and it was a very different relationship from the previous one, but I still needed a sign, and I prayed every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. And as the wedding got closer, I was getting like anxiety for the first time. I was having like almost like panic attacks. And one day we were sitting at the kitchen table in our kitchen. I had just fed my son. He was like 1.5, 2. I had just put some lunch down for him, and he was eating. And my husband at the time wore like uh, they called them white beaters, the white cotton tanks underneath, shirts. But he just had that on. We were sitting around. It's like a Saturday morning. And I literally was looking at him and was like, God, please send me a sign that he is who I'm supposed to marry. And at that moment, he turned a certain way, and I saw the tattoo on his arm. Now, I'd seen the tattoo many times, many times. I mean, we've been together at that point like 3 years. And I realized something struck me when I saw the tattoo. It was like I saw it for the first time with new eyes. And I was like, oh my God, I dropped my drink I was holding. I just like, and I remembered a dream I'd had 3 years prior before meeting him. I had a dream that uh, I was in a desert, like almost like the Sahara, where it's just nothing but desert, and there are hills, and they're like, I don't know, they're like dunes everywhere. And I was barefoot. The sun was beating down. It was very hot. And I look over in my peripheral, and there's like a scorpion on the corner of my peripheral vision. And I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna sting me. I'm gonna die. Like, it's gonna be poisonous. I just know it. And it started coming toward me, and I'm like, oh my God, like it's gonna hurt me. And it got to me, and as soon as I saw it next to me, I just immediately felt calm. And then all of a sudden it turned into this man, a tall, slender man. I couldn't see his face because the sun was blocking out his face. But I think that's the universe way of saying, we might give you some, but we're not giving you everything. Um, and I knew as soon as he turned into the man, I didn't see the face, but I felt him smiling at me and looking down at me. And I knew in that moment that was the man. It was showing me the man I was going to marry. Come to find out, relayed this dream to my husband, and he's like, "That's crazy." We got to talking. Turns out, the same night I had the dream is the same night he got the tattoo. Um, and it's funny because he doesn't remember getting the tattoo because he was drunk. He went out with some buddies, got drunk, woke up with a scorpion tattoo on his arm. He's not a Scorpio. Don't know why scorpion. He doesn't know either. But it's just like, this is nuts. Like, how? And so that was really my like reintroduction to really trying to interpret my dreams, and like, these mean something. They really do mean something. And so that was dream one that I was wanting to put on here and tell you guys about. It was very different, very enlightening. I know that was about my husband. After that, my nerves went away. We got married. We've been together over 20 years. So, obviously, that dream was a precognitive dream of some sort from spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it, letting me know we picked him out. Here he is. All you got to do is say I do. And we've had our ups and downs because even as my soulmate, because I know he is, relationships take work regardless. We've had our ups and downs, but it's been a great marriage. And I really, that dream just upped my fascination and obsession with dreams. So, like I said, that was dream one. I will be giving you guys more information or more dreams to come. And trust me, they're only getting better. So, like if you want, if you liked this video, subscribe if you want to see more. And you guys have a great night.